Hello there, I'm Janette Lane, a craft designer at CraftStash, and in today's video I'm sharing a 6x6 scrapbook layout, so how to create this easy layout from start to finish. And I'm using the brand new release by Apple Blossom, which is the Heartfelt Moments collection. Now there are 11 stamps to choose from. There are some great designs in here, and each one features a large sentiment with some extra additional design elements to it. And these sentiments are ginormous. So they measure almost 6 inches wide and about 1.5 inches tall. So they're really big and they're great to work with for larger projects. So they're perfect for scrapbook layouts, journaling, mixed media, canvases, all sorts. So I can't wait to dive into this tutorial. To start off our scrapbook page, this is a piece of patterned paper. It has 2 patterns, but I'm going with this one. And it's cut to 6x6, and I also have a photograph. This is not anybody I know. I pulled it from the internet, so it's just a lovely couple enjoying the sea, and they look like a retired couple, so that's why I selected that picture. And then I want to add a doily for my background, and these are by Couture Creations. C'est la vie paper doilies, and I love crafting with doilies. It's just a quick way to add some texture, some interest to your projects. If you're new to scrapbooking, you know that it's a lot of rearranging your elements and your photographs and your die cuts and trying to figure out where you want to stamp a sentiment. It's really fun and therapeutic. I really enjoy it. Now that I have an idea, a rough idea of where I want everything, I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to stamp my happy retirement sentiment and also my banners that are going to go across the top, my little bunting banners that are going to go across my layout. And for my stamp set, I am using the Apple Blossom Heartfelt Moments collection, and this is the happy retirement stamp. Really cute. So I'm going to first stamp out my banners, and so I'm going to be using Memento ink because I am going to not watercolor, sorry. I'm going to color these with some little tipsy alcohol markers. And so when you're doing any type of watercoloring, why do I keep saying watercoloring? It's because I love watercoloring. So when you're doing any type of alcohol marker coloring, you want to make sure to use an ink that's not going to smear, and Memento is perfect for that, in Tuxedo Black. So I'm just loading up my my stamp, and I'm going to stamp it on some cardstock. I'm going to make 2 banners, so I want to do this twice, and then I'm going to color it with my little tipsies. I'm going to be using some teals, some light teal and a dark teal, just to give it, I feel like teal goes really well with the peach and the gray. It just adds a pop of color, a pop of interest to my scrapbook layout. So yeah, now that I have that stamped, I'm gonna go ahead and color my banners. Little tipsy markers are fantastic if you want to try out coloring with alcohol markers. As you may know, alcohol markers tend to be on the pricey side, but little tipsies are very budget friendly, and you get the same great quality, the same gorgeous color payoff, as well as dual tips. So you got the chisel tip and the bullet tip. So it's really great for coloring small and large areas. It's a great way to start, like a starter set, if that's something that you've been meaning to try, but maybe you are worried about the price. So I will link these below in case you would like to check them out. They're really reasonably priced. So I'm starting off with a light blue color, and then I'm going to do a little bit of shading just on every edge, every little banner, every little flag. And then I'm going to go back with a lighter color and blend this dark shadow out. Now that I have my banner all colored just the way I wanted, I'm going to be trimming that, fussy cutting, so kind of cutting pretty close to the line art on the stamp. And then we're going to add it to our layout. I'm not going to glue it down quite just yet because I wanted to get my sentiment all stamped and ready. So next up, I'm going to be heat embossing my happy retirement sentiment on vellum in silver embossing powder. Next up, I'm going to stamp a piece of vellum in silver. So I'm going to be using the Happy Retirement stamp for that. And you want to remember that these stamps are really large. That's what makes them so great. So the Happy Retirement sentiment spans, it's about 6 inches long and about 1.5 inches tall. So you want to make sure that you have a large enough stamping block to use, or you can use a stamping platform as well. Now for my embossing ink, I'm using the Ranger Letter It. I really love this stuff. It's really juicy and works really great. And you're gonna need a really juicy kind of stamp pad because these are really large sentiments. So you're gonna wanna make sure that it's extra juicy and that you're getting lots of ink on your sentiment. For my embossing powder, I'm using Silver Shine from Cosmic Shimmer. So that's Creative Expressions, in case you are interested in that. It's a really great silver powder. So I've got my Happy Retirement sentiment, and before I mount everything to my page, to my patterned cardstock, I just wanted to set it aside, and I wanted to ink these edges in gray, so I'm going to take some Distress ink in the color Pumice Stone and just put a little bit of gray all around the color. I think it's going to bring the whole layout together because there's so much gray in the black and white photograph, and also the background of the gray background that's going to be behind the vellum sentiment. And so I just felt like the edges of this would benefit by getting a little hint of color. Now that I have my background inked along the edges, I'm going to attach everything. So first I gotta lay everything out just kind of the way that I want it. And then I'm going to glue everything down using different types of adhesive. So I'm gonna be using some liquid adhesive, some 3D foam tape for the banners, just to give them a little bit of pop. And for my sentiment, I'm going to be attaching that to my layout with a Crop-A-Dile. So some eyelets are going to go here and here on the corners. I'm really excited to share that with you, so let me get to gluing. These 3D foam dots are a little too big for the banners for each individual flag. So what I'm doing is I just trimmed my 3D foam tape in half, and I'm just adding half little moons to the back sides of every flag. Now that my banners are added, I'm going to trim off the excess. So just flip this around and trim off the excess that's hanging off of the edge. Next, I'm going to attach my vellum sentiment to my layout with some white eyelets, and I'm going to be using the Crop-A-Dile. And in case you don't know what a Crop-A-Dile is, it basically is a hole puncher, but it also sets eyelets and embellishments, and you're going to see it in action in just a bit because it's a really neat tool. You can use it for so many things, and it's great for attaching vellum to your paper. So I'm going to be using 4 eyelets. So let me get those out, set them aside. And let me trim my sentiment. It's a little bit too big, so I'm just going to trim it just a smidge. I'm back from trimming my sentiment, so now I'm just going to position it kind of where I want. And I'm going to trim off the excess because I want to get as close to the edge with the hole punch as you'll see in just a bit. So I'm just holding the vellum and trimming off the excess on both sides. And then we can move on to punching our holes on the corners of the vellum. Now I'm marking the 4 corners with a pencil of where my punch is going to go. Okay, so now I'm going to punch my holes. I'm going to release the lock. So squeeze it together and then push the lock button and it opens up. Now the Crop-A-Dile has 2 hole sizes. So there's one which is a 1/8 inch and then a 3/16 of an inch. 3/16 of an inch, sorry, that's hard to say. And it also has a adjuster here that moves up and down so that you get an even placed punch every time. So right now it's set perfectly, and see how it's creating a block here so that I don't go any further, and I'm gonna get even punches with this little guard. It's a measuring guard, that's what I'm gonna call it because I don't know what it was called. Okay, so now we're gonna punch the 4 corners. Before I move on to the last 2 holes, I'm going to set my eyelets on this side just so that my vellum doesn't budge when I'm punching it, because vellum is so delicate, you just want to be extra careful. So I have my eyelet in there, and now see this little this little thing sticking out there, that little pokey thing, that's going to set my eyelet in place. And there are lots of options for different embellishments and eyelet sizes. So that's really helpful. You can rotate those, and actually these two rotate as well. So if you need different types of eyelets to be set. So what I'm gonna do is put, this is a little bit tricky here, this part. Okay, so now I'm going to make sure my eyelet is centered, and I'm just gonna squeeze it. So I'm squeezing it, and it squeezes my eyelet into place. Here's an eyelet up close. As you can see, it's got some width to it, but when you put it in the Crop-A-Dile, it cinches it. It just clamps it shut, flattens it out, and secures your paper in place. So there's the up close up right there. You can see it, that it's been flattened out so it can hold your papers in place. So now let's go on to punching these two and setting the eyelets. So there's a little bit of excess here still. So let me trim that just a bit. Okay, and now I'm going to punch, 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 punch. Okay, I've punched my second two holes, and now I'm going to put my eyelet in there and then attach it, squeeze it shut, clamp it shut, flatten it out with this Crop-A-Dile. I don't know. Okay, I am done setting my eyelets and attaching my vellum to my layout, and now I'm going to add a little bit of embellishment here with some Anita's pearls, and I love these colorful pearls, so I'm going to be using the peach color, and I'm going to adhere these. These are not self-adhesive, so I'm going to be using some liquid glue to just add just a little bit of pearly orange color to my layout. And my scrapbook layout is all done. I hope that you enjoyed the tutorial, and everything that I used along with the Apple Blossom Heartfelt Moments collection is available at craftstash.co.uk, where you'll find heaps and heaps of inspiration and how-tos. I'm Janette Lane, and I'll see you all real soon. Have a wonderful day.